Straight Talk here is one of the local partners that works on providing content for the Google SMS healthcare and clinic finder tips. So I'm going to just hand over to Irene so that Irene explains to us on the role of Straight Talk in this project. So you can introduce yourself, Irene.
Thank you very much. My name is Irene Kitui. I work with the Straight Talk Foundation as the content manager for Google. Our project is the project that we took up. At first we used to partner with AppLab just to give them content, but now we are the people managing the database. Now, Straight Talk, I'll say, why did we join? When AppLab came to Straight Talk and said they're going to do something with mobile phones and people can get information on their mobile phone. As Straight Talk, we decided to join because we knew this is where the world is going. We are going technology. We're not going to remain behind. And we said, well, if our audience, target audience, that's young people, empowering them with information at their hand tips, that would be very, very good. So we welcomed AppLab and said, fine, if there's anything we can contribute, just come to us.
Now, when was this?
The project started 2 years ago, but officially it was launched last year in June. Now, before the launching in June, we used to work with AppLab. They would come to us. I'll give a background how it started. They came up and said, you know, as Straight Up we have programs. We have radio and we have print. And young people always write to us. So they came and said, can we get some of the questions that these young people are writing so that we can give them answers? Now, when we looked at the questions, we came up with categories under reproductive health. And those categories were HIV, we had sexuality, we had maternal health, we had STIs, sexually transmitted diseases. Yeah. So after putting them in those categories, we said, now let's generate content, every content that we can get about this, and all the questions that we could imagine. So basically, it's our questions that triggered which topics should we really focus on. Yeah, because we're looking at the letters that we get from young people. Now, after that, in June, it was launched officially, and after our launching, AppLab gave the project to Straight Talk to manage. Before it was at AppLab, but now it's really being run as Straight Talk to make sure we have this content. But with time, I'll say the trend has changed. When we started, we thought we are going to concentrate on reproductive health alone. But when Google went back to look at the failure, what are the questions that people are sending and they're failing, we realized people are not asking about reproductive health alone. People are asking generally. Somebody is asking about diabetes, somebody is asking about asthma, somebody is asking about stress. So what did we decided now, let's change, because we want to give service to the people. You know, if you have put diabetes and it fails, and the next time you put stress and it fails, I don't think you'd want to come back again and ask. So we decided, let's put all the health information so that if somebody gets a question on diabetes, they get a response. And if they put a question about reproductive health, maybe about HIV and what, they still get a response. At least they'll be tempted to go back and access the service again because it's providing them with information. So that's how we are so far. We have now expanded from reproductive health to health generally. So far where we have reached, we can't say we have all the content. No, we are still adding in content. And your feedback is really something very important because we are looking at making sure that people get the services. I can't say we have all the content. We are still adding more content. That's why you see we are still working day and night to make sure that we have a lot of content. And what the other thing I want to say is health trends change. And that's the fact that we have to know and we have to keep thinking. I always tell people, I think 20 years ago, no one knew, maybe 10 years ago, no one knew that a mother who is positive would give birth to a negative baby. But now it's happening.
Sure.
So I think information about health keeps changing. The trends keep changing. We don't have fully the database, but we shall keep adding. So that feedback is really very important. say the way this works, technology is, it looks for the keywords and then sends back to you. I'll give you an example. When we were starting, we had a lot of failure rate. Why? Because Ugandans are used to asking a doctor or something.
Yeah.
So people would start, hello doctor, I have a problem. I think I am having PAS. So the system would fail to pick the
right
trigger words, and then it
but if
would
you just
always
pass straight to it,
pass straight. It will give you the right information. So basically, we are still trying to. I'm not saying we are really very perfect, but even the failure rates help us to go back and say, now why is this failing? Can we change this and this and the other, and then we make it perfect. We say Google, this project has different partners and we all have our own roles and responsibility. Now, as Soy Talk, our role is to make sure we have content. Content is generated and we have it. Now, as we have content and put it somewhere. Now, if Google doesn't come in to make sure that the content goes into the technical bit of it, then we shall have content with nothing. So Google has the technical bit of it. And then MTN is the source where people have to access the SMS from. So you find that all the different three partners are strong. You have a backbone. You might be a backbone, but you can't do without the other. We can have the content, but if without Google, then the content is useless. I did one time. I was doing a survey somewhere for another organization and said sometimes it's not good to pay somebody, because when you give them, if they are given 10,000 today, in the next month 10,000 will not be value. They will need 20,000, and I would think with information, with especially the health information, I don't think we should buy somebody to ask. It's like I'm buying you to participate in the quiz. When the quiz ends, what next? Yeah, I think that's good. It's something to think about. But I also want to say, you and me can afford to go to internet and you know, for example, when you put internet, Google, and you put malaria, it shoots you with so many things. And if you're not brilliant enough to say, now this is exactly what I want, you can end up getting messed up and you really don't know. But the advantage with the SMS, where we want it to be, is if somebody asks for malaria, it is malaria. If somebody asks for malaria in pregnant women, it's malaria in pregnant women. Strictly that. So I think yes, it might be a competition, but there's one side of advantage is, you know, when they give you with all this information and you have to choose which one I want, I think you would rather go for the SMS. Yeah. Where we translated the database for content generation, we have two databases. For Clinic Finder is a different database, and for content. So content was translated. Now, because of a high rate of failure and so on in Uganda has been stopped. We are not translating anymore. And two, because Google is going to market this product in other countries, they are going to put only one language, English. So they don't want, because like I told you, this was a pilot. They don't want a scenario where they go to a country and say, we want content in health, and people say, but in Uganda, you did Luganda, we also want this.